All right, we are live. Well, great evening. I am the dynamic, very one of a kind who is in these silence. Excited to be here tonight with some amazing women with our great panel to just talk a little bit about ovarian cancer. You know that I started this journey because I took my pain and gave it purpose. My sister passed away from ovarian cancer in April 2011, and it was something where she was diagnosed with having acid reflux, and going through surgery is when they really discovered that she had ovarian cancer. So one of my missions is just to inform somebody, hopefully save a life in her memory. So we have been doing this event, I think this event actually for the last 9 years, but prior to that, I had Teal nail polish parties at my house. We found anything that had Teal in it. She was like, oh, come on. We had Teal eyeshadow parties. We had face-a-thons just to bring people together to make them aware of ovarian cancer. And every time I passed something, somebody said, I did not know. So it was just that one person is enough to us continue to fight. I want to thank my sponsors. So first of all, Angela Kidd of Angela Kidd Insurance. So give her a round of applause. So she brought to you some of our gift cards today. She sponsored our food today. So thank you. I appreciate you for that. Also, Northwest Mississippi Community College. Want to give them a round of applause as well. So they sponsored, I think, almost $300 worth of gift cards. So we really appreciate them, and provided us some swag bags today as well, and continue to support us in some of the other things that we're going to be doing. So we are excited. And then also I want to do a shout out for Henley? Yes, Henley Law Firm, who also donated and did our drawing for earlier today that we did for gift cards. And then Yvette Porter, who also donated. She does the Taffy Crawford Domestic Violence Walk. So that will be on October 19th. So you'll hear more about it. So I'm hoping to get a team of ladies to come walk with me on that day in memory of Taffy Crawford. So that's her foundation for her friends. So we are going to get started today. We're a little bit late, but that's okay. Having technical difficulties, so we just didn't know what we was doing, one or the other. But we are here. So I am going to have each of the ladies just quickly introduce themselves. We're going to dialogue a little bit. Tonight is not just about being an ovarian cancer survivor, but we're going to touch on a few different things. Just the financial impact of cancer. You know, if you have those traits in your family, if you are a survivor, and just some other health issues that we have. Our friend to us who always bring us some good information, our health advocate, Katrina Kimble. So if you can tell us just your name and then tell us what you're representing today on stage.
Sure. I am Katrina Kimble, and I am here for Dress for Success Memphis.
I'm Angela Kidd Insurance.
I'm Debra Jones, and I'm a member of the Brown Baptist Church.
And I'll piggyback. I'm Marche Phillips, and I'm a member of New Hope Baptist Church of Memphis.
All right. So let's first start with Katrina. Can you share us just a little bit the facts about just from the health side of it, and then we're going to go into, we'll have Marche go next, Debra, then we're going to end up with you.
Okay. So you want to have facts about ovarian cancer?
Yes.
Okay, great. So ovarian cancer was kind of known as the silent killer of women because the symptoms are so closely related to some of the same things you would have with gastric problems, such as bloating. Some of the other side effects include having pain in your lower back, having constipation. Some women have diarrhea, having pain in your pelvic area. And a lot of times, y'all know, we'll go, oh, I'll get to that. We'll push it to the side. And the danger about that is that a lot of times, but specifically for us that are caregivers and that are raising our families, we'll put our health on the back burner. So usually, that's why about time we get to the doctor is so advanced. Now, statistically, Caucasian women get ovarian cancer more often than we do. But the problem is by the time we get to the doctor, it has progressed to stage 3 and stage 4. We die at a higher rate than our Caucasian sisters when it comes to this disease.
We'll pass it down to Marche.
Everything that you said, we've actually experienced it with my own family. On my dad's side, I've lost 2 aunts, one in 2019, one in 2020, to ovarian cancer, and you're absolutely right. They were workaholics, and they just brushed it off as they were getting older and things like that. By the time my Aunt Ira, she was diagnosed and she went through the treatment, and she was fine. She was in remission, but it did come back, and unfortunately went into brain cancer. And then in 2020, my aunt, her name is Martha, but we call her Aunt Jean. Hers was, she just had a bad stomach ache. She had a bad stomach ache, and she worked so much, and she put it off and put it off and put it off. And by the time they found out what it was in stage 4. And so her battle was very short. And so after that, one of my other aunts said, hey, I need all of the ladies in my family to go and get tested for it because we've lost 2 in 2 years, something's up. Okay, I was on my way to my typical OBGYN appointment, and I said, okay, let me go and just satisfy this lady and let's move on with my life and things like that. So I went on March 6th of 21, and then March 21st, my doctor called me back and said, hey, I need to talk to you. And it was like, you carry the BRIP1 gene, which is a mutation and is high risk for ovarian cancer. And I'm like, okay, what? And so anyway, long story short, is they tested, it was a simple test. I went into the doctor, I basically told the doctor, hey, I've lost 2 aunts, my aunt wanted me to do this. They answered a few questions, and then they had me to contact this facility. It was MyRAD, MYRIAD, it's the Health Risk Center or whatever, and that answered all these questions, showed them my health risk, because my dad died of stage 4 stomach cancer, and of course, cancer is just high in my family. So it was nothing. That I qualified, insurance covered it. They did a blood test while I was at the doctor, called me back 2 weeks later, and it basically showed a detailed report. It came back showing the mutation gene. It showed that I'm clinically significant risk, and basically my numbers at first were like 5.1%. And so I'm on the path of going every 6 months. First Friday in March and first Friday in September, faithfully, since March of 21. And I have to get an ultrasound every time. If my numbers increase, they're going to say, okay, let's go ahead and do a full hysterectomy, let's get on with your life. But the reason why they're holding off, my gynecologist is working closely, is because she doesn't want me to go into menopause too quickly. So if my numbers increase every 6 months or whatever, then they're just going to schedule and we're going to get it over with. I mean, I got my kid, we're good. I can adopt it if we need to. It's not that big of a deal for me, but I want to be here. And every 6 months I hold my breath. I go in and they call me back, and it has moved from 5.8 to like 6.1. So it's not aggressive, which is a blessing. I just have the genetic mutation. I don't have any signs of it, but it is likely that I will. And so when I reach the age of 45, then we'll start talking. Well, right now I'm currently 44, so I'll be holding my breath in March. And if they need to, let's do this. Let's just go ahead and get it done. But, like my doctor always says, 80% of anything that happens to you is preventative. My aunts did not take advantage of that. And so my goal is to be here as long as God allows me. But I'm going to take advantage of the testing. But a lot of people don't know to ask for that test. And my cousin went, and I kid you not, I said, here, go ahead and tell them and everything else. But her gynecologist didn't do all of that. All they did was an ultrasound. That's all they did. And I was like, no, that's not it. And I sent her a copy of my report. And when I say it broke it all the way down, it broke it all the way down to the risk, to the procedures, to every step and whatnot. And so now she's going back to inquire about that. But if you show them that they have a history of it, the insurance shouldn't have a problem with it. But even if they did, I was going to pay that money and whatnot. But I just went, I was talking to you a couple weeks ago, just went in September, and in March my numbers increased. So they said if it increased again this September, they were going to try me and go ahead and get it done in October. But it stayed stagnant, so I can breathe for 6 months. I'm so excited. So I just say this, listen, get it tested. get checked because I would have never known it, like a genetic thing. And everybody thinks about BRCA because of breast cancer. But BRCA is breast cancer and ovarian, but the BIP1 is specifically ovarian. It says fallopian cancer, those things like that, but it's ovarian cancer. So.
Yeah. When you were talking, I thought of two things. One, when you go see your doctor, be your best advocate.
Yes.
Insist on having a pap smear. I know they're gonna tell you don't need one. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Pay for it. Because
Pay for
the
it.
insurance
Yeah.
don't cover it.
Yeah,
They cover like mine don't cover it every 3 years.
yeah.
I faithfully pay for that.
Yeah, so check with your insurance company. If they don't pay for it, whatever, get it because they can catch those precancerous cells when they do your pap smear.
I want to show you something else.
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to say for those of you that have teenagers, get the HPV-1 vaccine. I know everybody's talking negative against vaccines, but if it could possibly save your child from having to go through radiation and chemo down the road, that one little prick, we can be inconvenienced to go and get a mammogram. We go in there and do that, and that's very uncomfortable to keep, to set for breast cancer. So let's start teaching our younger people now to be a good advocate. Ask questions when you go into the doctor. If you're nervous, take somebody with you. Or also, if you're sitting up at night and you're nervous about your appointment, I have a little book when I go to the doctor. I have all my questions in there in case I forget. And I drive my doctor crazy, and I don't care. I tell you can go and sit down because we're going to have this conversation. I know you got 20 other people to see, but I take my time, and I need you to answer all these questions for me because I'm trying to stay here, like you said, as long as I can. And I want to make sure that I'm asking these questions, I'm asking for these tests. And if that doctor will not work with you, I always say, find your doctor. You're paying them anyway. Find you somebody that's going to listen to you, that's going to work with you, and that will have your best interest. It's not about how many patients they can see per day. It's about giving you the care you need. So that's why I just want to add that.
And when you're doing your ultrasound, make sure they do the vaginal one as well as the stomach. Because when they do the stomach, she did the vaginal, this past time she did the vaginal one. And girl, I have so many fibroids and cysts, it's just like a rainbow coalition going on in there. But some of my fibroids have started to increase. So they were checking those, the results with my doctor. She said, okay, you're fine on that part. But if they change, then that's a sign that they need to start looking at the next steps. So what she did was she sent me back and they did the stomach ultrasound as well. And that's when they saw that they're not as big as they appeared on the vaginal one. And then of course she checked my cysts. And another thing is, like I'm probably telling y'all too much information. I have a tilted uterus. If you know that, tell them that. Because most of them they'll stop looking. And you have to know like where everything is positioned because mine is tilted to the left. I have to tell that ultrasoundist because she would have been like, okay, you're clear. Then when she went over there, she said, oh, that's the first thing she said. So I agree with you on being your best advocate because you know your body better than anybody else, but you got to be able to help them because like I said, for some it's a quota. Not mine, but for some it's a quota, and you just want to make sure that your needs are being met.
Hi, I'm Debra. And being diagnosed in May of 2021, I had one symptom at that time. Now, in 2017, I had to have my fallopian tube and ovaries removed. Then there was a granulosa tumor, but nobody said anything. Sometimes they just sit there, they don't do anything, and mine decided to act like cancer. And 4 years later, I think I was like 8 months pregnant. That's what I look like. 8 months pregnant. That's the only thing, the only symptom I had. No pain, no anything, just bloated, really big. And found out that it was recurrent, but mine had got so far that they were saying it was stage 4, but my doctor said recurring. So it was really aggressive. And I immediately went into chemo. And 3 years later, here I am.
Amazing.
And going to the doctor every month, every 3 weeks, I have to go for maintenance. That's the only thing I'm going for now is just get a Lupron shot, and I take 1 pill a day. So for me, that is such a blessing.
Yeah.
And being able to just say that I'm a survivor, being able to, you know, just address the things that went on, far as in going from knowing everything, could remember like an elephant, to now I feel like I got Alzheimer's. You know, it's just your mind is here and there or whatever. And it's very difficult to find a job. With me being of age, senior citizen, it's still like, it's so hard to find a job because you knew that you were here 1 year and the next year you're here. So that taking a financial toll on you, because financially it really, really, really hurts you. And then where things are going today, with everything going up, that's even more. But through the grace of God, I'm holding on. That's just like being in that space at that time, and being able to still be able to say, God has a purpose.
Yeah.
And my biggest purpose, because I kept asking him, what was my purpose? Didn't know what I was supposed to be here doing. Just thought I was existing, living life, just, you know, going from infant, teenager, adult, grandmother, you know, all these things, but never knowing what my purpose was. And it's like every day I walk into a whole new light. My daughter was telling me on the way here, she said, you changed the whole life and you don't know it. I was asking him to give, you know, I didn't know if I had discernment, because I was always making crazy mistakes. And for somebody else to see it and me not know it, that was kind of like an eye-opener. Because she just, I don't know, it's like I got 5 kids, but she's that one child that puts that magnifying glass on me, because our relationship changed so much. And now it's just like, she knows me, you know, back and forth. My biggest thing, and I try to tell them, pay attention to your body. And I think I said this last year. Pay attention to your body. We all women, we know what hurts and what don't hurt. We just associate it with this or that, you know, because it started out with fibroids. Then it was a cyst. And now it's cancer. You know, and it's like, no one in my family really had it. I didn't know. There was no, we did the test and there was no gene that said that this was hereditary. So it was like, never knew nobody. Colon cancer was the biggest thing in my family. But I never would have thought it'd have been ovarian cancer. So it's like, trust the process. If you're going through it, you just gotta trust God that He knows what He's gonna do, whether it's gonna be short or whether it's gonna be a long, you know, journey, but He knows. And you just have to trust Him. Because if He said that you have this and He decide, come on, then you're going home. But then if He has you here for that purpose, and you have to make sure that whatever it is, every day, that you know what you're supposed to be here for, what you're doing, who you can inspire, who you can, you know, uplift, all of that. You just have to trust the process. And my thing is just plan. Plan your life, plan what you're gonna do. Even if you just said, well, tomorrow I think I'm gonna go for a walk around Shelby Park. If you plan it, do it. You know, just do everything that you want to do at that time. Not saying that ovarian cancer is gonna take everybody out. Because I think when I first learned about ovarian cancer, it was number 5 in the killer women. So it's not up there with breast cancer, but it's climbing. And it's like, just having that knowledge, just ask. Like she said, when you go to your doctor, ask them. Like my doctor, she was just like, well, you don't really need a pap smear if you don't want to have one, you know, it's up to you. And I said, no, go do it. And I said, do the whole package or whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay.
Right.
And they always say when you get cancer, it's always gonna be something else. You know, if you get ovarian cancer, something's gonna happen. You're gonna have heart issues. You're gonna have this. Well, I had heart issues before I had ovarian cancer. I had something else was going on. High blood pressure. I had that. You know, so it's just like now I don't even think of it as every time you have one cancer, you're gonna have another cancer. You know, because I'm not gonna even claim that.
Right.
Yeah, right now, that's right.
Yeah.
Don't claim that.
I just say, you know, like she said, make sure if you got girls, I got 4 girls. And every time I'm looking at them, I'm like, something's gonna change on their body. Okay, you need to go get that check. You know, you need to do this or you need to do this. You know, whatever it is, I just try to encourage them, my friends, my cousins. You know, we sit and we talk about this stuff. And it's just really a very enlightening conversation to have. You don't always have to have a conversation about your love life. Nobody wants to hear about your health issues either, but it's very informative when you as a family can have these conversations.
It's amazing what you find out when you have a conversation with your family. And then in our culture, half of the time,
They're hush.
yes,
Like, I didn't know, like even with my own, that thyroid was a big deal until I had a snore. I'm like, so y'all can talk about everything instead of telling me that part, make that make sense. But I agree with you on that. The conversation is like the start. It doesn't have to be heavy, but at the end of the day, we all help each other just by having the conversation. So.
Couple things I would want to emphasize is pay attention to your body. Don't just assume that's just how it is. So pay attention to your body, you guys. Because that's the sad thing about ovarian cancer is just the normal thing, oh, I'm bloated, oh, I got the cramps, or, you know, just pay attention to your body. I know last year our, one of our ovarian cancer survivors, she ended up starting to bleed unexpectedly. And her husband told her, you should go get that checked out. So pay attention to your body, encourage your kids. Let's have teenagers, let's have those conversations about that. The other thing I wanted to emphasize is one thing that I realized when I was dealing with my sister and my mom is that there's a lot to it just other than just the person who's going through it, right? So just being able to support, you know, mentally support, the emotional behind it, whether it is the individual or the caregivers, you know, that's a lot of weight. One of the things, as Angela and I, when she started to talk, is just the financial. I remember for myself, I lived in Chicagoland area. My mom was in Wisconsin. It's an hour and a half. Just, you know, luckily we were that close, because it could have been 3 or 4 hours, right? But just that travel, the expenses that you incur as a result of being the caregiver, a lot of times the emphasis is on the person who is actually going through the care, and I'm not trying to minimize that at all, but there is a lot others to it. So I want to have Angela kind of share from her perspective as well.
So for me, it wasn't me that had cancer, but my husband. Back in 2015, he went to the hospital because we thought he had a hiatal hernia. It ended up being a volleyball-sized tumor in his abdomen that was not there a year prior. There was absolutely nothing on the scans a year prior because he had a CT scan almost a year prior to the date. And a year later, there was a volleyball in his abdomen. And they were like, oh, you've got a cancerous tumor. We're like, what? Okay. Definitely not something that we ever imagined we would be going through. And we're definitely not prepared for it financially. I was working for a church at the time, so I was making very little money. And he was working, but then he wasn't working. So it became us living off of my salary, which was not much. And medically, you know, we hit max out of pocket immediately and hit that 2 years in a row because he had 2 surgeries, because he had the first one, had that tumor removed, and we spent 2 weeks at the hospital, and I lived at the hospital for 2 weeks. So all of me missing work, food there at the hospital, because hospital food, one, is not good and it's expensive.
Yes, it is.
And even going out somewhere to get something to eat and coming right back. I left the hospital one time during that 2 weeks, and you know, it was to Subway and back. And thankfully I had friends in church that did come in around and bring food and different things like that. And when we got home from the hospital, that they were there to come alongside. But we still, with those 2 years, and by the grace of God, he was completely healed. By 2017, we were told, because in April of 2016, we were told it was back a 3rd time. He had 2 surgeries in 2015, and it was a very aggressive type of cancer. And when it came back after, well, the 2nd time, they did not get clean margins and said, we'll never get clean margins. We're gonna have to do radiation, because chemo just ticked it off with the particular type of cancer that he had. So they did 7 weeks of radiation, which again, max out of pocket right at the first of the year. And then it was still back a 3rd time after all of that radiation. And they, April of 2016, looked at us and said, we're sorry, we can't do anything else. We just have to watch it and see what happens. And we went home and started making final plans. And we watched it, and we watched God show out. And it really is. And, you know, that was, 7 years later, he's still cancer free. It took us 5 years to climb out of medical debt, though. Or just debt in general, because so much was not covered medically. Of the gas back and forth, because those 7 weeks of radiation back and forth every day, that's a lot of gas. And gas was not cheap back then. The food, after he had that first surgery, looked like he'd had a baby, because he went in and he had, you know, a 15-pound tumor in his abdomen, and he came out and he was all flat. And we had to buy new clothes. And things like that, that we literally spent 5 years coming out of medical debt. And so now with what I do with health insurance, that's one of my goals with some of the stuff that I work with, is to be able to help people not have that problem. So that is one of the reasons that I wanted to come in alongside Denise and help with this and sponsor, because it's something that if I can help one person avoid that, then it's all worth it.
So talk a little bit about the process, why you want what it was, what you were telling me about.
Which part?
So how can you help them?
Oh. How can I help? Yes. So there are insurance policies. They are lump sum cancer policies. Most people are familiar with the Aflac policies. You know, everybody knows the duck. And they are more indemnity type of policies, where they pay if you have something done, if you have chemo, if you have radiation. It pays a set amount per treatment, per whatever. These particular plans, because we actually just had a brand new product come out on the market, they just released it this month, that is a lump sum, which we have several, but this company actually came in and took all of the pieces from all of the plans, took all the good pieces and put it all into one. And it is actually one of the most phenomenal plans that I've ever seen personally, that is, with all the things that it can do, plus it has a cancer, heart attack, it's cancer, and it has a heart attack and stroke rider that it can add to it. Or you can, if somebody's had cancer and they just want a heart attack and stroke policy, because anytime you've had cancer, it increases your risk of heart attack and stroke. So as soon as Levi hit his 5-year clear mark, I said, you're getting a cancer policy, buddy. And I actually put one on both of us. We both have a cancer policy and a heart attack and stroke policy. Those policies are so affordable. We're mid-40s, mid to late 40s now. And that for us, we have the max. It goes anywhere from $5,000 up to $75,000. And it's for a $75,000 policy, it's $60 a month for us each. So for somebody, which I deal with a lot of folks that are 65 and older, heading towards that Medicare age, the likelihood that you're going to get cancer over 60 actually increases. Mainly because a lot of times you're getting more checks because you're going to the doctor because you're on Medicare and you have insurance. So you're getting a lot more testing done or more checkups, more routine things, and the likelihood of getting diagnosed is even higher over that age. But even somebody that is 65, it's less than $1 a day for a $10,000 policy. And that can help somebody because most things, if you're gonna get a max out of pocket on an insurance policy, they're under $10,000 usually for a year. Even for younger people, for those that are, because you really don't think about it when you're in your 20s. You're not thinking about, oh, I'm gonna end up with cancer. Possibly. And one of the things about this actual policy is that if you have it for 20 years and you don't ever have where you have a claim on it, it'll return your premium. So all the premiums that you've paid in.
That's nice to know.
That is.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yes, and it actually looked at that policy, even though you had.
They do have, you have to be 5 years clear. So 5 years post-treatment, but as long as you have it, because even my husband, like I said, and when he hit his 5-year clear mark, they didn't ask. The question on there is, you had anything in the last 5 years?
So what would some of the expenses, the lump sum payment that you're referring to, would it be for specific expenses or what would that be for?
Anything. You have a diagnosis of cancer, it's gonna pay you a lump sum of money for you to use however you see fit. In my husband's situation, just simply because I know him and I know of what's going on, if he ever has a cancer diagnosis again, he's not having treatment. One, they probably won't be able to do anything unless it's somewhere that they can just cut it out, but he probably will not have treatment again. So it will be money for us to do his bucket list. That'll be what we use his for. So it's literally anything that you want to use it for.
Because how many of you have been impacted by someone with cancer? Right? Just think about expenses that has nothing to do with your medical. Like when she was telling me about that, I was like, yeah, because I was a girl going back and forth down the highway. Yeah, then you get food on the way, right?
Yeah.
Then if you're not taking care of yourself, now you got medical issues, you got cold. Like it does really, truly add up. If you don't live near your family, then you have to travel trying to get back. So it is definitely something to think about. To me, it's like the life insurance. You don't wait till something happens to get it. You need it beforehand, right? You have to get it before it happens. So being just mindful, what I always like to do is give information, not just about the cancer itself, just different things that impact you as a result of, and it's always good information that regardless if it's ovarian, lung, cervical, that you can still be mindful and then look, or it will help you think, well, maybe I need to go get a little bit more information just because now I'm made aware of something in general, but maybe I now need to ask those same questions for myself. So, I know you had something to share with the dressers.
Yeah. One other thing, sure.
Okay, did you have one other thing to share? Okay, good. So we're going to have Katrina share that you guys have your last moments in 60 seconds or less, because we have a whole lot of gifts to give away as well. So we're going to start with you and then go there.
Okay, I'll make this real fast. Just want to share something with you that I think is really exciting. The World Health Organization the initial self-group, they have actually identified May 8th as National Ovarian Cancer Day, and they're launching a campaign next year called No Woman Left Behind. Because in underserved communities, where we're seeing a decrease in the United States, in other parts of the world, they're having an increase in ovarian cancer. So I'm excited to see that they're starting to put women's health. You know, we see a lot around immunization for kids and HIV in Africa. I'm excited to see that they're putting women's health at the top. So my role with Dress for Success, I volunteer there. I'm a program manager there, but I'm also, last year I got selected to be a global ambassador for Dress for Success. So I will be traveling to New York next week. Dress for Success, what we do is, we have a slogan that we're more than suits. A lot of people think you come there and get suits and you bring donations. But we have shifted. We actually have a entrepreneur and mentorship program. Since 2021, we have helped 63 women locally launch their businesses. I mean, successful businesses. We also have helped women go through the small business loan program to get loans for their businesses. And one of the things we're trying to do now is we're trying to get women in the community to come and volunteer and support. So we have a new program called the Women's Professional Group, and we're looking for any woman in the community that can donate 1 or 2 hours a month to come and mentor other women or college students. Like today, we helped some students at Lemoyne Owens that were graduating to get suited. We gave them a suit for interviews, and then we gave them a week worth of clothes. So if you would love to learn more about Dress for Success, stop back at my table and come and talk to me. I would love to have you join our Women's Professional Group to help us change the next generation of women that's coming behind us. Thank you.
For me, I would just say, because I am here as my professional Angel Kid Insurance, for my husband, he had a liposarcoma, and it is a very rare type of cancer. So for him, that is one thing, and it's yellow. His is yellow. And for me to know that we'll never have to climb out of medical debt again if anything ever happens to either one of us is such a relief, because now I can have that confidence to know that if anything ever happens, that I can just focus on making sure that if it's me, that getting better. If it's him, taking care of him. Right. Instead of the sleepless nights of how am I going to pay the bills?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, where is this much mortgage coming from?
Right.
And that was real. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that was a big struggle. And now to be able to be in a position to help people avoid that by something that they don't know about, because I didn't know these type of policies existed. I knew that Aflac ones did, but you know, or those indemnity type policies, I knew those existed, and that was the one thing that I had always told him. Hey, when he changed jobs and he got insurance, I said, make sure you get that policy, get that critical illness policy, because likelihood that I'm going to end up with cancer is really high. So get that policy. That was the one thing he didn't get. But he's covered now, and even if something happens and we have a situation where both of us end up at the same time, that it actually has beneficiaries listed. So it's something that can even be left for someone to have. So that's something that I always mention to all of my clients, because especially when you're older, you're on a fixed income. You don't have $10,000 to go towards traveling to go get treatment, going to MD Anderson. Your care may be covered, back and forth is not, your hotel is not. All of that is not covered. Experimental treatments, all of that kind of stuff is not covered, and it can be covered for less than $1 a day. Less than $1 a day is better than taking it out of your 401k.
Okay, I want for everybody and anybody that you know to challenge yourselves. Write down everything that you know of what would happen if this happened to you. If it's saving $5, or if it's write down changing your diet, walking 2 or 3 minutes. You know, you can start there. and keep going. Just challenge yourselves and just be vigilant about your health, because this is serious. Any type of cancer is serious. So we just need to protect ourselves. You know, if it's getting the critical insurance and, you know, critical illness insurance or extra insurance, or, you know, I had to end up getting life insurance outside of the job, because, you know, once you leave the job, you can't take it with you. So I got it through the job, but I can take it with me. And, you know, once you, over a certain age, once you have had cancer, they're not gonna be quick to give you insurance. I was able to get a $100,000 policy, even though it's kicked my butt paying. But I said I had to make sure that some things were covered. Everything won't be covered, but some things will be covered. So it's just me challenging you all, and you all getting somebody else on the bandwagon to do these things for us.
And I will close by simply saying, don't be afraid to have those hard conversations. Oftentimes in our culture, I'll be honest, we don't talk about the medical aspects of things. And like you said, have that round table talk, but don't be afraid to even just check on it. In my case, I know what I'm dealing with, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that it doesn't manifest. But I would have never known that if somebody didn't have that conversation. So let's just be the generational curse or the cycle breaker so that we can make sure that we're here for as long as God allows us. Our days are numbered, but let's do our best to enjoy it to the best of our abilities.
And I love how she said, and I think somebody touched this, and I will close with this, is one, being intentional. You know, we don't want to live in fear. We definitely want to live in fear, but we can be intentional, right? I believe we can do our part, and that's in our health, our exercise, being informed, being around people to give us information. And then what she said, being your best self. Just be the best you can do, your best version that you can do in your current situation. But being knowledgeable, don't hide behind, don't be afraid, because what you don't know can hurt you, right? What you don't know can hurt you. So give it up again. And thank you for tuning in with us today in this year's episode of Feel the Teal in Your Hottest Heel for Ovarian Cancer Awareness and Memory of Beatrice Miller. Thank you and good night.